Should the unemployed who refuse jobs be forced to join the army? Former army captain and Tory MP Richard Drax has said that young job seekers in particular are not prepared to contribute to our country, and 2 years of national service could ease the crisis. It comes amid reports that more than 9 million people of working age have dropped out of the job market, and at least 5 million of them are claiming benefits. So has he got a point? Is this the solution? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Darryl, what's your thoughts?
Oh, my word, my goodness me. I mean, look, I'm going to take issue with the premise of his point, if you'll allow, to start. This idea that young people are not prepared to contribute to our country, that these figures about people who are not in work and aren't seeking work, a third of them are long-term ill. There are students in there, people who look after family, full-time carers. We've just talked about the importance of that, the delicacies there. People with disabilities, people who've taken early retirement, and actually all of these people, quite a lot of these people, do make a contribution to society, an enormous contribution to society. I mean, quite frankly, how dare you tell a people who are part of those categories that they are not making a contribution to society? Never mind throwing them into the army.
But that's an argument against calling them economically inactive, which would be a debate for another day. But if we take away the people that have genuine reason for not being in the job market, and we look at the people that are just refusing jobs because they don't fancy picking fruit, of which there must be some, is it a good idea to just force them into the army? OK, well, then I take issue with the idea that it's a crisis because we're talking about a much smaller number of people for a start. The other thing that you have to ask yourself is, if people feel, and there are people who do not feel, a sense of civic duty and responsibility and civic pride, you have to ask yourself why. Let's get to the issue of why. Maybe it is the fact that jobs are insecure in this country. Maybe it's the fact that it's very hard to get a stake in the country through something like a house. The sense of purpose has been challenged. People don't feel like they have a stake in the country because all too often they don't have a stake in the country. And how about we address those things before making people cannon fodder? I think it's worth saying that the army does offer people structure and sense of purpose. That works for some people, but the idea of a blanket approach for all of those people is nonsensical, and most importantly, it doesn't address the issue. It's not going to solve the problem that we have. It's just a sticking plaster, Carol.
No, I don't. No, Drax is talking about the long-term young unemployed. He's talking about people who've been offered 3 different jobs. He's not talking about people, you've brought carers into it. We're not talking about...
We literally are.
No, we're not. We're talking because caring is a job and there's the benefit that goes with you being a carer. It is a job. It is often a full-time. We're not talking about them. Drax is talking about people who are eligible for the marketplace, who've been offered a job 3 times and just don't actually want to take that job. Now, and you're one of these people who are failing to address the fact that we have a generation of young people, many of whom just don't want to work. We've got the latest report, 481,000 young people between 16 and 24 unemployed. 40% of young unemployed hadn't had a job in a year. 45% of those were claiming some kind of welfare payment. Now, when you're 20...
45%, you say?
I think it's 49%.
49%.
49%.
OK.
And these are the latest figures. So what he's talking about, I think... drafting people for 2 years is a tad severe. I think what he's talking about is instilling some kind of discipline into people who just don't, as you said before, don't fancy picking fruit, that don't want to go and work in a cafe, that don't want to work in what they say to be a boring office. But yet these people are quite happy to take benefits from a country that they're actually not giving anything back to. Now, I just think if you are offered 3 jobs and you are on benefits and you refuse them, well, then your benefits should stop. And you should be... Why should a country look after you if you're not prepared to do your bit for that country?
Well, then why is 2 years severe then? With what you're saying, 2 years sounds completely reasonable.
I think it could conscript young people for 6 months. And what that would do is instill a sense of discipline and a sense of work. And I think a lot of young people today would actually like being in the army. They do sport, they do exercise, they're out. A lot of people need boundaries.
Some people, but not all, as Darryl said.
Not all, as Darryl said. But we're talking about people who are taking money from the state, who are perfectly able to work and refuse to work.
Well, you don't,
They're the people. And, we have a generation of kids growing up now in schools who are being taught that to not like their country. A lot of young people don't think their country is worth serving. And a lot of Gen Z, they're about self and not service. And I think that's a shame. And and if you look at the economic cost of those people not working, it's huge.
I think almost everything that we know about Gen Z and millennials. I'm a millennial. I've taken a huge hit. You're a millennial.
I'm a millennial.
We've taken a huge hit. Everything's our fault.
How have you taken a huge hit?
Well, we
how have you taken a huge hit?
Have we taken a huge hit?
Yes.
Well,
tell me. You got your own house?
I do have a house, and I was.
Someone's got her own house. Have you taken a big hit?
I was extremely fortunate to be able to get my own house. I couldn't afford a house.
You worked
down
hard.
in London, by the way.
You worked hard.
I have to live in Manchester.
Right.
We've taken a huge hit. What I mean really is in terms of being blamed for things that we.
Hello, Gen Z blames my generation for things. Gen Z blames baby boomers for things.
The problem with that
everything.
The problem with all that is that your generation are actually at fault for all of those things.
Are we?
Well, we're getting an intergenerational debate
we're
here.
At fault for working like
I
dogs to actually buy a house and for continuing to work all down the years to keep a house.
No, listen, I'm teasing, and there's an important point here. We have to stop this. We have to stop blaming each other, pointing the finger across generations.
You started it.
No. Well, yeah. We have to stop othering each other. We can point around to different generations and different sections of society and blame them for the problems that we're in. I mean, let's address that. 400 and whatever it was, 18 to 24s, 49% on welfare. That suggests there's a lot of people in there who are claiming things like disability allowance, long-term sickness. We've got a major problem in this country, and we've got a major problem in this country.
The biggest percentages of young people claiming mental health issues.
Okay, I want to get to the calls.
We can fix that problem. We can if we want to fix that problem, or we can shout at each other and send people into the army.
We can fix the problem by, if they're offered a job 3 times and they don't take it, stop their welfare payments and then make them go out to work.
Let's find out what our viewers think. How are you going to fix the problem? David from London, you're up first for solving this problem. How are we going to get more young people working and off sick in benefits?
Well, good afternoon to you, Storm and Carol and Darryl. Very interesting debates today. Personally, I think we have enough problems with war in the world. We don't need any more people in the armies. And you would be training a whole load of young people how to kill each other. Is that good for society?
We've never been closer to a war than we are now. We only have 76,000 soldiers in this country, which is the lowest since Napoleonic times. Yes, we need more soldiers.
Yeah, we don't need more soldiers, though. Because
we kind of do.
It's very negative, isn't it?
No.
Train people to kill.
Every military leader in this country says we need more soldiers.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with any of them.
So David, let's go into a made-up situation. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But Russia attacks us, right? Direct hit from Russia. What do we do?
What do we do? Well, I don't know. In that situation, I think we're all going to go up in smoke. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd say that's a pretty negative view.
Well, it is, yeah, but that's Russia's fault, isn't it? Yeah. And what about all the people who are conscientious objectors and peace-loving? I mean, what's the point of putting them into the army when they're totally against it? And are they going to be happy? And are they going to have more psychological problems because they have been in the army? Because a lot of people in the army have got psychological problems.
Versus being wiped out as a country because you're under attack from Russia.
I don't think those are the options, are they?
Well,
really? They're not the options, are they? Look,
everyone who's fought has psychological problems.
David makes a really good. David makes a really, really good point. He's hit on something really, really important here, which is actually, there's something quite patriarchal about this suggestion. Something very male. This idea that physical combat is the solution to all of our problems. We're trying to fit. We're trying to. That's kind of exactly what he's saying, though, isn't it? We're trying to fit. Often trying to fit in society square pegs into round holes. And this is another perfect example of it. I would actually hazard a guess. Quite a few of the people on this list who are economically inactive because the system isn't working for them, because they don't feel safe in workplaces, or they haven't found their...
Oh, please, you're talking, Josh.
No, it's complex. No, wait a minute, Carol. It's not.
It's always complex,
isn't it? These things are complex. And
the system doesn't work for them. The workplace doesn't work.
Very often it doesn't. There is a certain level of structure.
So everyone who goes to work should absolutely love what they do, and everything should be perfect, or they don't go.
And now who's putting words in somebody's mouth?
What did you just say? The workplace doesn't suit them, or the system doesn't.
There are lots of people on this list of people who are economically inactive, who are struggling because the system doesn't work for them.
But what do you mean by that? The system doesn't work for them. It sounds. I don't know what you specifically mean.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you. I mean, maybe it is a little bit woke. I'll give you an example. So I have ADHD, right? And so there are certain structures that I have to put in place in my life in order to help me work. I actually have landed in an industry and a job which really works for me. This is perfect for my ADHD. We're jumping around from different subjects. I can be performative. Being on the radio is really good for my ADHD. There are lots of people who suffer like I do, who are in jobs where it doesn't work for them, who can't find their sense of purpose, who can't find their footing in life, and don't have at their disposal, the structures that I've been able to put in my life. I would hazard a guess, quite a few of these people are on this list, and the idea of throwing them into the army
people who are...
Okay, I'm just going to take another call.
People have been doing it for decades, for centuries. They adjust to make their lives fit the work. That's what they do. That's what people do. That's life. It's life's problem.
I think exactly. I think that's exactly how we need to tackle this problem.
You've nailed it. I want to take another call. Rebecca from Essex, what's your thoughts?
Hi, panel. Oh, my goodness. I think we're just breeding an absolute society of snowflakes. People don't want to work.
Right. Unique and beautiful, Rebecca?
Sorry?
Unique and beautiful. When you say snowflake, you mean unique and beautiful, right?
I know what you mean, Rebecca.
What do you mean, Rebecca?
Carol,
what do you mean, Rebecca? I'd be keen to know what that means.
There's a lot of well, let me speak and I'll tell you. There's a lot of the youngsters that won't work because they don't want to work. It isn't because they can't work. It isn't because there's ADHD. You know, my son has autism. He's in a fully functioning job. People years ago had all these issues too. They went to work. They weren't afraid to work because they had to work. People that are on benefits are doing nothing to give back, like Carol says. What are they giving back to society?
Not everybody, Rebecca, on benefits. That you're not meaning everybody on benefits, but you think there are some. Okay.
Not everybody, but people that are completely able and that they have no disabilities or anything like that. I've lived a lot abroad and in different countries. Why aren't we making them pick litter, volunteer in the community, help clear the riverbanks?
Okay, so if it's not conscription,
help with environmental issues, there's so much more they could do, and then I think they would very much want to go and get a job instead of just living on benefits.
Okay, I've run out of time now, but Rebecca, you make some really interesting points there. Thank you very much for your call. We're going to have to move on to our next part. Does being a mum ruin your career? Singer Lily Allen says that kids ended her rise to pop stardom. Can you have best of both worlds? How are you managing it at home? Let us know. 0207 862 2222 is the number. We'll speak to you after this.